Hey Christy, it's Rachel. I wanted to send you a video message because I wanted to give you some study tips, but I was worried if I wrote it all down, it'd seem like a lot of information and it might overwhelm you. So that's why I wanted to speak with you. So since I can't speak with you, I'm going to speak at you. Okay, so one thing to remember when you are learning how to study is that every time you're exposed to information, you add a layer of knowledge. And each layer of knowledge builds on a pre existing one, and they accumulate into this knowledge base, basically. So I just want you to understand a little bit sort of how your brain works and how learning and memory and retention works. Okay, so um, what you first need to do is expose yourself to the information. So this means reading your textbook. If I assign you chapter 5, read chapter 5 in a quiet space, limited distraction, however it needs to be for you to fully absorb the information. You know how sometimes when you're reading a book and somebody's talking or something's going on in the background and you keep reading over the same line and it just doesn't go into your head? You want to make sure that that's not happening when you're reading your textbook. So you want to be in a place where you can fully concentrate and you're actively thinking about the reading while you're reading it. Um, so that's going to give you the base, like sort of foundation for your knowledge. Now, another thing that you can do is while you're reading, have a notebook and write down notes. So write down section headings, write down bullet points, write down key concepts, stuff that you would generally highlight if you were going to go through and highlight the book. Just write those down instead. Maybe definitions, stuff that you don't think you'll be able to remember very easily. Write all of that stuff down in shorthand, however you want to do it. And I know that seems redundant because you've got all that information in the book, but basically what that does is that takes the knowledge from the book and it builds another layer of it in your brain. So your brain is going to remember your hand movements, it's going to remember your eyes tracking those words as you write, and that is going to go into your memory somewhere in the back of your head. And instead of one layer of knowledge having just read the book, you've then got two or three because your hand moved to form those sentences, your eyes watched you write, and that is input into your brain for that same knowledge. Now, when you get to the web content, then you're going to listen to things, you're going to hear things that are related to the concepts. That's going to build another layer of knowledge on top of that. And then when you start discussing things with your classmates in the forums and you start writing papers, those are building layers again. So every time you're exposed to this information, to this stimuli, this sensory stimuli, essentially, it builds another layer of knowledge. It's like pouring a layer of concrete. Each time you use that knowledge in a different way, seeing it, listening to it, writing it down, talking about it with somebody, typing about it, it's going to put that information into your head once more. It's going to pour another layer of concrete and it's going to be harder to crack. So it'll easily come to mind if you have a number of different layers in which you've absorbed this information. So that's how using the different sort of forms of content that you have in your class, on the web page, both in your book, that's how all of that's going to work together to help you retain the knowledge. Now, also another thing to remember is how you learn. I don't know if you've ever taken like a learning assessment or a little quiz to know what type of learner you are, but usually there's three different types of learners. There's visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners, or people who learn using their hands or doing things. So visual learners remember stuff easily that they've seen. Auditory learners remember stuff more easily that they hear. Kinesthetic learners remember stuff that they engage in themselves, that they actually take firsthand initiative and work through problems, that sort of thing. So you need to find out what type of learner you are, because if you can figure that out, then you know how to more effectively study. So if you go to this page here, and this is our web content for the class. These are all your weeks, all your different content weeks. This first one, Introductory Information and Tips for Success, has a few links that can be helpful for you. So this one, how to take notes on your coursework, that's going to show you this web page, how to take notes, more actively listen, how to participate better, and get all that information, so you know sort of how to take notes while you read, how to discuss things in our forums, how to actively listen to podcasts and videos that I assign. That'll give you some basic information there. But then you also have, what type of learner are you? This link down at the very bottom. This is a little 5-minute quiz that you have to take, because it's fantastic. So this will take you to this page, and the stupid ad will not go anywhere. Okay, so this is going to tell you what type of intelligence you're inclined towards. So you take these little quick questions, there's 24 of them, it shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. And it'll tell you what type of learner you are. And then it'll tell you what type of study tips work best for you. So what kind of methods should you study with? So it's going to display a certain number of percentages. Everybody's usually a combination of the different types of learning, but there's one that usually dominates, whether it's, auditory or visual or kinesthetic. It'll give you study tips about how to study. So using myself as an example, I was really a visual learner. I'm a visual learner. So in college, what I would do is, of course, I would read through the book, because that's visual. I would look through PowerPoints. I would sort of stare at my note pages, because I could recall stuff if I've been looking at it for a long time. So I knew that those methods of study worked for me. So this will tell you what kind of methods of study will work for you. And if you know those methods that work easily for you, you're going to more easily retain the information. And when you go to take your test, you'll be able to easily recall it. So if you build this sort of thick foundation, this different scaffolding of information with all these different methods, and you study in ways that are conducive to your own abilities and your own learning type, then your tests will begin to be a little bit easier for you. Of course, if you ever have any questions, if you're unclear about anything, please let me know. I'll do anything I can. If you need to talk, or if you need to web conference, we can do that as well. I know you had a friend that was good at sociology, I think you mentioned, or had taken the course before. That's a great resource to use. There's also a tutoring center on campus that you can go to. They can help you with studying and that sort of thing. You can also form a study group with your classmates. Here in our course, if you look back over at our content, we've got questions and concerns. Now, obviously, when you're taking a test, you can't post questions here, but during the rest of the class, if you have questions about something, it doesn't make sense, put a question here. Hey, can you explain this to me like I'm 5 years old? Because it doesn't make any sense. Put it right here. Somebody will answer. I'll answer. Somebody in the class who gets it maybe a little better will answer. The social forum, you can post, hey, I want to study for the test with somebody. Anybody want to meet up? Let's do a study group. The more heads you can put together, the better, because maybe person A is really good at remembering theories, and maybe person B is really good with vocabulary, and maybe person C is really good with remembering different people and sociologists that we talk about. So everybody brings something different to contribute, and you can sort of tap everybody's strengths and put all that together. And of course, when you're sitting around talking with people, you're hearing yourself talk, you're forming words, and that is another form of input into your brain. So you're building another layer. So I hope that this information is helpful. Please let me know if you need anything else from me. Okay, bye.